welcome to this month's coffee break. We are joined today by Centerpoint Connect Roofing CRM. Super excited to have Will Riley here. So Will, why don't you start by introducing yourself and we can dive right in.
Awesome. So Will Riley here. I am with Centerpoint Roofing Software. My presentation isn't really about Centerpoint at all. Really, it's about just some observations that I've made in the industry. I come up with a unique background, and I'll share some of that with you guys today. But more specifically, industry observations and where I think it's heading, and hopefully some tips and some tricks on how to get there. This isn't for everybody, but again, it's what I've learned and kind of cultivated throughout the years. A little bit about me, because I think that's important, is, I'm married for 11 years. It'll be 12 years in September.
Aw.
3 kids, 10, 8, and a 2-year-old. So going home is always fun. I started in really food and hospitality. So opened a few different restaurants, one in Austin, Texas, and then I moved back to Illinois, and I opened a kitchen for my wife's mom, who had a bar, and that was a lot of fun. So I loved the service industry even at that point. My dad started a roofing software in 2010, went to market and recruited me, of course. And we started from above a garage, building a program and taking it to market, learned a lot. And that's really where I think my roofing career obviously started, but I was in a unique position to just get to talk with so many different contractors and get to hear what worked and what didn't work. And, just having that level of trust with so many different contractors was really eye-opening for me. In 2017, I went to go work for a roofing contractor out of Fort Worth, commercial roofing contractor, and got to be in the business. So I had the outside experience, now I get the inside experience, learning roofing, literally spudding rock and getting, to grow service and to grow through production, be a project manager, just everything in between. That was awesome experience, which led me towards the creation of Centerpoint ultimately, and worked with a great team to build a great product inside of a roofing company. And thought to myself, just, man, this needs to go to market. And that's kind of where we're at today. What I learned along the way, because I had 7+ years of just working with contractors, almost as a consultant, an outside consultant, but they opened their books, they opened their doors to me, and just got to learn from so many. And it exposed me to a lot of different structures. No two contractors are the same, right? And the way that each business operates is unique. So just getting to learn that, and what I was picking apart from each time I did that is best practices, and just wanting to share that with other contractors, and then seeing them be successful in the ways that they wanted to be successful was pretty rewarding. Different pricing models of how people, get estimates out the door and get on and off roofs, and what information they gather, how they prepare it in a format that's deliverable to the client. What I really realized is a lot of the information is top heavy. The actual roofing knowledge seems to me to be top heavy, and that's the hard part. That's not necessarily scalable, right? Or that's the challenge that everyone faces in their unique ways, is how do I scale with the certain knowledge that we do have? Maybe we have an abundant amount of resources, maybe we don't, but we're hiring new people, and to bring them up to speed, that seems to be the challenge. But it brings me to what I've really been noticing, which is a shift in the industry. And I see it happening in the masses. I see a lot of contractors shifting towards, I'll call it, diversifying their offering to more of a service leading mentality. And that's kind of what we'll talk more about in depth today. But all of this kind of developed a need for me to want to share that with others and to help the industry. I still see a lot of old ways in roofing, and I see a lot of desire to make things better, and to kind of bridging that gap between, the contractor and innovation. So why is the shift occurring? These are my thoughts. I think that contractors want to not just put all their eggs in one basket. I think that the majority of contractors came from installing roofs, and that's what they know and that's what they do. And the way they do that has evolved in a lot of ways, but maybe just being able to offer more. And that's happened on a few different fronts, obviously with the products that we can install now with coatings or foam roofs or overlays. There's different installations and tons of innovation on that side. But what about offering maintenance or offering warranty calls or offering leak calls, things like that? I see people wanting to be one-stop shop, so that way their clients, no matter what it is pertaining to the roof, can come to that contractor and trust that that one contractor is going to satisfy all their needs. And they don't have to rely on multiple different roofing companies. Mitigating risk, so lower the risk levels. Maybe the desire is to retain clients. I want to retain a client base because that's something that could become predictable in terms of what we're going to do next year in sales. If I have a client base that I retain, I could be more intimate with that client base. I can help them better than just sending a bid, for example. A lot of this leads to just the recurring revenue that comes from a service leading business model. I think another big reason too, honestly, that I see is succession planning. If you've got kind of a complicated business, you might be hesitant to turn that over to the next generation. But if it's a company that really is a well-oiled machine, that's more likely to want to transfer down to the next generation. So I see succession planning as a big piece here. I'm also seeing a lot of younger owners too that are running these businesses. And previously there was a gap. And I think the gap came from, honestly, my generation didn't go to high school and come out in one of the trades, right? And the generation above me, they did. My dad, my parents, they went to school and a lot of them came out into the trades. And I think our generation skipped that. It's kind of hard to find people that are interested to go into roofing, but really it could lead to a great career, a great opportunity. And we've given several that opportunity, and seeing them grow is really cool. My observations with service-based contractors, now I'm getting a little bit more specific, is that the service leading model, it's enticing. People seem to want that, and they're thirsty for more of that type of knowledge. And there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of webinars and content of service leading models out there. And the question is how do you want to pull that into your business? How do you pull that into your business? And I'll touch on some of that, as I go through the rest of these slides. I see the younger generation seems to be pushing it more so, not to say that the older generation's not, but I certainly see a big push with the younger crowd coming in. The reality is it does require a lot of change. If you've been installing roofs and selling the roofs you install, and that's been your business, to even offer something else, it does require a tremendous amount of change. And I don't want to undersell that either. The departments, they're different. If you have a service department, if you have a production department, they are two different animals, and they should be treated differently. There's different mentality in service than production. Production's all about laying down squares, right? And getting the job done to budget. Service is more slower, more methodical. Yeah, the profit's higher per job, but the job's much lower in value, and those are two different animals. I also see that owners don't have the time to grow the service, and I think that the answer is kind of obvious, because where should the owner that has all the knowledge spend the time? They should spend the time solving the large jobs, the issues that come up on large jobs. They should put the effort into how to, put a proposal together based on that specific roof system's needs. And that's just kind of what I see. Service agreements is a big part of the discussion. What I saw worked, what I saw that didn't work. In a nutshell, the more complicated the service agreement, the harder it is to sell. If the service agreement needs to be resold, then that's even harder. So I have an example of a service agreement that I'll show up, and if anyone wants it, I'm happy to send it. But in a nutshell, the service agreement should be really simple and never ending. You're not going to get your money off the agreement itself. You're going to get your money off showing up to perform the inspection or the light duty maintenance, whatever you're doing on those agreements. I mentioned working at this roofing company. I put this together to show what happened. there. When I started in 2017, they did about 12 million in sales, and this is all commercial. There were 2 or 3 service trucks there doing about 570K a year in service sales. Again, 12 million total sales. The first year in, I grew it to 1.5 million, and we did about 18 million in total sales. So I'm starting to learn, there's a direct correlation between the amount of service that we did and the amount of negotiated or project work we extracted from that client base. And that's not to say we didn't still bid jobs. Of course we did that, but there's a correlation between your client base that you normally service and the work that you'll get on the capital side that comes from it. 2019, we did 2.2 million in service. I think somewhere in the mix of 24 million, 26 million, I think, in total sales. 2020, we all know what happened there. Service still kept going up. And also what I noticed is a lot of the contractors that had a service leg of their company, they survived easier than the rest. And I think it's obvious because, obviously the repairs side of things for really anything that ever breaks down, roads, buildings, different trades, they still need to be repaired. So we did great there. That's also the time that I went to market with Centerpoint. So I was playing this dual role. I was trying to replace myself from the roofing company. I was director of business development. I was over service. I was over sales. Replaced myself from sales, but service was hard. Just trying to get someone to run the systems I put in place. But finally got it. 2020, I left, and then in 21, they still kept running the same model and growing through those service channels. So I just wanted to put that up. I developed this kind of philosophy, this really, I guess, a sales life cycle. And this was a way that we kept things consistent. And each of the sales reps, we actually call them helpers, right? They're account managers. They weren't sales guys. They were out there really serving in the best interest of the customers. And it all started with an inspection, getting on site and capturing it. But really, if you set up buckets and you have people that you want to do business with, these are prospects. You're going to have a certain amount of people in that bucket. Inspect. You're going to have a certain amount of people in that bucket. These are buildings we've been on, we've inspected. We're going to have a stack of customers in the repair bucket. These are people that we've sold something to, whether it's a leak call, it's not to exceed, it's some form of repair. That's actually a pretty significant win, often overlooked. Why do I want to do a $350 repair? Well, what's the cost of a customer almost, right? And also, if you visit a property, just taking a sidebar here, you visit a property, you do some form of an analysis, and there's a cost for replacement, there's a cost for future repairs, there's a cost for something that's small. Maybe it's a small leak. If you left the property and realized they didn't have a budget for replacement, but you still got something out of the deal, you got them to do that repair. That's a significant step that a lot of people leave off their proposal, but it sets you up in their accounting system as a vendor, and they're set up in your accounting system. So you're basically poised to do business moving forward. What happens in 3 months, their accounting person or their front office person, whatever, left, and someone new joined, and they get a roof leak. Well, they're going to go to their accounting system and search for roofer, and you're in there. So I think that's a significant step. But either way, you're going to have a certain amount of customers in the repair bucket. The budget bucket is we've been in contact with this customer long enough to know when they are expected to want to replace their roofs. That's the target, is to get in front of them before they even know they need a roof replacement and just hold on to them. The time comes where we're getting closer and closer to that life expectancy or that roof expiring. We've already given them a budget. As soon as they're ready, we'll firm up that number and we'll go ahead and do that project leading towards the replacement bucket. So this is the philosophy, and we funneled everything forward through this sales cycle and got to have a lot of success with that type of model. Some of the challenges with the service evolution, I would say, is a contractor that wants to grow through service. These are the challenges. The reality is these are hurdles. It requires a unique expertise. It's like I said earlier, it's hard to scale the roofing knowledge. So you need good systems in place that funnel all of these opportunities of all sorts of shapes and sizes through kind of a similar or forward progression of a workflow where all types of opportunities can funnel through that workflow. Different needs. I mentioned earlier, service is different than production. And they're different animals. The way you price things, the way you go out and produce it, the way you account for it, a lot of that stuff's just different. And I think a lot of service companies, when they started, they just modeled service after how they do it in production and learned along the way that, man, service is a different animal. Maybe we should make things a little bit simpler. I put this up here, $350 versus 350K. Well, where should an owner spend their time? Right. And that's often what happens. I'll be in an office with the contractor and, the owner is putting out fires all day. There's sales reps, there's project managers coming into the office going, I got this issue. And the owner's like, bam, do this, bam, do that, just solving problems. And that's how the business got to be what it is today. It's hard to peel away from that and then try to, build something new. Some more challenges, buy-ins needed, right? If we're going to do this, who's in? Who's gonna help us forge forward with it? Compensation. This was the first thing that I had to change working at the roofing company. Is every rep was only motivated to want to sell a roof replacement. That was their commission. Well, when they got on roofs, the only thing that they would ever win off of is quoting a replacement. So even C graded roofs, D graded roofs, F graded roofs, all of it were putting quotes out for replacement. So we had to make a comp change to their structure. And what we did was, look, you get 5% off repairs. You can make just as much off of selling repairs as you can off of re-roofs in certain scenarios. But that allowed the sales rep, the account manager, to retain the account and nurture that existing and future service commission. Another piece is culture change, because service organizations, as I learned on the hospitality side of things, is all about taking care of people, right? And communicating and being there when they have needs. And a big part of that is just showing up. You may not know how to fix the issue, but when a customer calls and they're leaking, they have a disruption to the business, sometimes just showing up is all that matters. So some solutions. Well, this exists in a lot of different places. A lot of different companies have done this. And what I've learned is these contractors don't mind sharing. They're open books, and we talk to a lot of different contractors. Like-minded contractors seem to want to group together and want to help the industry. And it's really cool to see that dynamic and even in the same area, right? And it exists out there. Connect with some others and share that knowledge. You do need someone to lead it, because like I said earlier, the owner can't necessarily lead it unless you have the time or the bandwidth to. So who is that leader? Well, in my opinion, it's not just a service manager. You can't just plop the service manager in place and go, all right, you grow service. Because it's got to integrate with the rest of the business, and that's why I mentioned that workflow being so important. A workflow being, how can any incoming opportunity come into the business and then pass to service if applicable, or pass to production if applicable? And it all kind of funnels through there, but someone should be over that funnel. And for me at the last company, I was director of business development. So I was that funnel, and that's how we were able to grow. But that's scalable. That's something that can scale. You got to invest the time. It takes a lot of time and effort to not only build the plan, execute the plan, buy the trucks, wrap them, stock them with materials, add team members, do inventory. That's a lot to do. You just need to know going in that we have to invest the right time and resources. But part that pays off along the way is getting these wins, celebrating those wins, and creating good lives for everybody else that's involved within that process. Some things that I think, and this is that through the perspective of, for example, a roofing contractor that is primarily just sells their work, is production oriented, that wants to create a service department. These are the changes that would be needed. Simplify the service leg, I'll call it, the service department. Those processes, they need to be simple, because the reality is you're processing a high volume of work orders. If it's complicated, you're needing to add a lot more admin to keep up with that. And that's a challenge. So you need simple processes, simple systems, and just be able to turn the volume up from there. Comp plans, right? Anyone that's selling service, we need to have a motivator to sell that. The same motivation for selling a re-roof or a coating project. They should be able to go out to a building, look at it, gather the facts, review it with the customer, and no matter what they sell, they end up winning off of. And that's what I mean by a comp plan. I talk about the centralized workflow a lot. I do have a slide up for that. Sales leader to support that workflow. I did talk about that already. Accounting, accounting, and I have some slides on this, not to beat too much, boring topic into place, but I think it's really important. If we're going to be job costing a lot of service tickets, we got to have a good flow for how we get the invoice out the door. We reconcile our labor, our materials. It gets into accounting. Service manager has visibility throughout the month, the year, the weeks. How we cost or estimate out our repairs, that's got to be something that needs to be figured out, but it's different than the production side. Estimating for repairs is, in my opinion, far easier than obviously doing a re-roof or even a coating job. Inventory management, it's just different, right? You've got trucks that are stocked with materials. They go out to the market. They need to be able to perform the repairs and to have a stock sufficient enough to go out, and also coding those materials to the right job or the right job costing method. So basic workflow, this is what I keep talking about with if you can imagine every single incoming opportunity coming through this type of a workflow, and it changes, but this is a very basic one. So we've got a new lead. What's a new lead? That could be customer calling saying, I want you to come give me a re-roof bid, coating bid. We got a bid job. Or we've prospected and gotten a lead. We've gotten an incoming request, a website form, whatever it is, all starts as a new lead. Well, we need to qualify that in some way, shape, or form, figure out who we're going to assign to this opportunity. We call it an opportunity. So you put that in the system. It's an opportunity that then hopefully turns into a job. After we go out and we do our site visit, we're going to determine that it's either going to go down the service channel or it's going to go down the production channel. If the production channel, well, we got to measure the job. We got to estimate the job. We got to, approve the bid. We got to send it to the client. It's quoted. And then when that's sold, it'll feed into a new project that we need to schedule, complete the job, close it out. That's the production kind of side of the company. Well, that same opportunity, what if it was a service opportunity? Well, we need to quote repairs. We need to get it approved by someone. We need to go sell it. And that turns into a work order that we would produce. It turns into the service side of the company. And that's the idea with this workflow. And that's something that we were really able to scale. Estimating repairs. I don't know if you heard, this is a fairly popular method in terms of pricing repairs, is a unit-based model. Imagine you have a library of roofing terminology where to wrap a curb is $850. It's $1,000. It's $1,200. Versus something else that's a per linear foot item. Or coping joints. Caulking the joints or replacing fasteners, $3 a piece. Whatever it is, having a uniform method where the estimator or inspector, account manager, whoever's on site looking at this particular issue can pick on this description, and it feeds the correction and also what we're going to do what we did do to fix it service. So having that kind of pre-built in helps you not only price it, but produce it, and then also relate to the client what it is that we did. But this is something that's scalable versus what we would normally do on the production side is figure out how much time we have on the job, what materials we're going to need, we're going to mark it up, and then we're going to price it. That's hard to scale because you need roofing knowledge to be on the roof, capturing that cost up front, putting it together. It makes it so you don't even want to do service, to be honest. So having it thought of ahead of time, picked, we're done, we can move that right into a proposal. Service agreements, I mentioned just being really simple. I used to have two options here. I had a reactive option, proactive option. I actually see some contractors be even simpler than this, where they just have the assumed sell. If they've ever serviced a roof, they just show up 6 months later, do a report, and send it to the client. I'm like, that's a little crazy for me. But I think having an agreement in place is good because that manager of that building or that owner, whoever it is, they think that they're like under contract. And this is what Centermark did back in the 90s, or at least what my dad discovered Centermark did, is he'd show up to these buildings and he'd be like, trying to get in on the roofing. And they're like, nope, we're under contract. We're under contract. And finally, my dad's like, can I see one of those contracts? And it's something similar to this. And it was we agree to let you come out twice a year. That's all it was. They weren't under contract. They just thought they were under contract. And maybe that came from a facility manager and just drove it down. And that's what the maintenance guy said and scared everybody else off. But really I will allow you to come out twice a year. You can actually pick the frequency. And what you'll get is a first free initial inspection. I'll give you access to whatever system I have. We're going to come out and we're going to do a roof system check. I'm going to check your drains, your flashings. I'm going to check your membrane. I'm going to pick up screws that the HVAC guy may have left behind. Hopefully, I'm going to prevent you from leaks, and I'm going to give you visibility on your roof and your conditions. And if you do this program, we'll give you a discount on repairs, 10%. And you get priority leak service. When it leaks, we're going to hit you guys first before someone that's not on this program. This was something that we can have a rep sell. And if it was any more complicated than this, then they just weren't selling it. And maybe they needed more training. Maybe we could have done things differently. But this was scalable, and each agreement we had was $8,000 a year in just the repair sales, and 20% of the portfolio would be replaced, just statistically speaking, on a 20-year life expectancy from a new roof. So we wanted to retain clients with these agreements that we were coming out every 6 months, and that kept us in front of the client. That kept us, updated on their roof's conditions, and we cataloged it all. And just the ability to see what all the conditions across all the buildings, across all your customers, was really powerful, so we can stay connected to that client. The goal was to be there before they needed that replacement, to be ahead of that, so we can really start to forecast at that point. So service accounting, I know, boring stuff, but I just wanted to talk about this because I see it, and if I can help just one person, awesome. But how is accounting structured? I mentioned this earlier, production versus service, it's just different. The job costing methods are different. Accounting, capturing job cost, obviously you've got receipts coming in, your techs are purchasing, we've got materials coming into the warehouse that are being distributed. We have to reconcile, let's say every month, so we can have our job costing. That's the goal, right? Now, traditionally, this is what I see, is these are 8 service jobs. So we've got job number 1. I've got X amount in travel and labor. I've got X amount of materials. There's my job cost. So I've got that done. I got another one done. I got 8 of these as an example. Well, these don't get done until the end of a period at some point, right? And typically, you'll see it at the end of 30 days. We got all these individual jobs that we've job costed. And the reality is, if I go back a slide, these aren't even accurate, because really, unless you're diligent about taking that tube of caulk and spreading it across 3 jobs that you use it on, or you're spreading out that per diem, or you're spreading out that tank of gas, even these are off. But we're not even after this at the end of the day. Really, what we're after is the total stack across the 30 days being lumped into a single bucket where I go, okay, here's what our margin is. All right. And that's what I see most people do. Now, their accounting system may be set up differently, or in a few different ways to capture those job costs by job. Everyone wants to do it by job. And what I talk about is doing it perhaps by truck, because it's a very simple way to do accounting via service. So if you think about it this way, you want to cover your costs, right? So what's the truck cost you? What's the foreman cost you? What's a helper to put in that truck cost? What are materials? Figure out your cost for the year, and then divide that out by your weekly cost and even your daily cost. If my daily cost is $634 to run a service truck, just one truck with 2 guys in it, I need to at least do that much in sales. Now, our target was $2,000 a day. I have 2 examples. This example is $1,500 a day, 5 days a week in sales. That's almost a 60% margin. That's $390,000 a year per truck. That's a good producing truck. What I wanted was $2,000 a day. And that's over $500K in sales per service truck. Now, I know it seems like a lot, right? That means that $2,000 a day, that's 4 lead calls, 4 $500 lead calls. That's $2,000 repair jobs. I use that to price almost. because if in the beginning, I didn't know much about roofing when I started the roofing company, but I had these techs that were my eyes and ears. They'd find issues on the roof and they'd say, "What's this cost, boss?" And I'd say, "How long would it take you to fix it?" Half a day. I'm like, $1,000. This is a full day, $2,000. And you start to get better at that. But just to put it in perspective, if the service manager knows how much we build that day and what our goal is, that they would be more equipped to allocate those resources. And if you're short on work, you got to find it, right? Because there were times I sent someone out to West Texas. We had one lead call and I'm like, you got to find stuff when you're there. So do an inspection. I'll sell it while you're there. And we converted that into not only more work, but a client that we retained. So I say all this to say, figure out your daily cost and then have that be where your goal is, right? I need to be here. My cost is here. I need to be here. Billing same day certainly helps with that, but you need a way to capture your cost as you perform the job, close it out, bill it, send it to accounting, right? And if you do that by truck instead of by job, the accounting part's a lot easier. So imagine this: in accounting, in QuickBooks, it's classes. In other systems, it's cost codes or whatever they're called. You have one per truck. And all of the expenses, if you look at truck number one, let's call it job number one, all those expenses hit that bucket in accounting. Anytime that truck buys anything, it hits that job. Anytime we pay timesheets or labor, it hits that job. Because all I need is to know my total sales per that truck to get my margin. And I don't have to wait to the end of the month to get it. You can get like a living margin. There's some very simple reports. Even this one here, or I have a different one somewhere. But if you put your daily purchases on that sheet and your daily labor rates on that sheet, you can have an accrued margin throughout the week. And then you can really set some goals with that. So that's the end of what I have to say. If anybody has questions or would like to talk more, awesome. You can scan this. I think it's a nice little fancy landing page where you can get in contact or learn more. Again, my whole goal was to just share some stuff and hopefully that helped someone in some way, shape, or form.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Will. That was so informative. I loved seeing how much the company grew as they brought in more service. That was really, really amazing. I know that a lot of our club members have service programs, and if you don't, then maybe that was the reason to start one. So does anyone have any questions for Will or comments or conversation? Wendy says, great information, Will. You've defined some gray areas for us and given us some thoughts like per, oh, truck ROI. Yes. Love that. Great, Wendy. Thanks for the comment. Okay, great. Well, Will, thank you so much for being here today and joining us. You guys are giving our members a gift. I believe there's some fun mugs.
Cool mugs with a cork bottom and a top so you can get in the car and
Ooh, I
not
love a
spill.
lid.
So these are all coming to you guys. Appreciate you listening to me just talk.
Yeah, that was some great information, and I think everyone really enjoyed it. So thank you so much. We are going to move on to our roofer of the month, who is Yana Barnbrook. Hi, Yana. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Yay, good. Well, I don't know if anyone has listened to your podcast, so why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about her roofing, specifically what it stands for, because I love what it stands for.
Thank you. Yes, HER stands for honesty, equality, and respect. And it's our core values. It's what we practice every day. It's very important to me. And I love it. And it's not, the HER, of course, is a woman-owned company, but I wanted it to stand for something. And that was something that was very important to me.
That's awesome. Yay. Well, we are super excited and honored to honor you with the Roofer of the Month for February. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's awesome.
I was just going to say I've known Yana for a while in past lives when I was at Eagle View and she was at GIF, and she just has a very long history in the roofing industry and has done so many different things. So I encourage you guys all to listen to the Roofer of the Month podcast. A link was sent out yesterday, I believe, and Alex will be sure to include it as well in an upcoming email if she hasn't already. But it's a good story, so listen up.
Yes, thank you, Yana. We love having our Roofers of the Month be on these calls to share and celebrate and get excited about being the Roofer of the Month. So thank you for being here. Marty, do you have a question or comment?
Yana, what market are you in and what do you do?
I'm in Portland, Oregon, and we do roof replacements, mostly residential, and repairs, gutters, sort of thing. So
Very nice.
100% retail. Yeah.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a great market to be a part of. I love Portland. It's it's had its challenges last couple of years, but it's getting cleaned up quite a bit.
We have some announcements, and I'm sure you all are aware that IRE is coming up, as well as National Women Roofing Day, both in Dallas. National Women Roofing Day is on March 5th, which is the Sunday before IRE starts, and IRE obviously is March 7th through 9th. And I believe we are going to be at booth number 9309. I might be jumbling those numbers. Okay, I got it right. And so everyone, please come by our booth. We'd love to get you on a live interview on YouTube because we have our soundstage at our booth, and we'd love to honor all of our club members and have them on our YouTube page. So please stop by if you're going to be at IRE any day. We will be at our soundstage every day of the show.
I'm just going to say, if you can't make it to IRE or you can't be there the whole time, we are going to be broadcasting literally the entire time on our YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe to the channel. You can hit the bell for notifications. We'll be doing interviews with folks all day long. We'll be having live coffee conversations each day from the show. One, I don't know which is which, but one of the days is with contractors from different parts of the country. And then the other day is with manufacturers and service providers from the industry. So it's kind of the same conversation, but from two different perspectives. So if, like I said, if you can't make it, follow along. Megan will be behind the camera, making sure things run smooth. And Megan is going to be performing at the SRS Extreme Tailgate on Wednesday, March 8th at 3 o'clock. So if you want to go hear her sing, she would appreciate the support.
Yeah, everyone come on out to the tailgate and grab a drink or a snack and listen to me play some tunes. I'm very excited. This is my second year in a row doing it, and I love SRS, so it's really fun to get to perform and all that jazz for all my roofing friends who don't really get to see it. And then also we have the National Frame Builders Show, which is coming up this week. In case anyone's going, we'd love to hear how it goes and what you learned. And then at the end of March, after IRE, we have the AGOGE conference in Hilton Head. And then we have our RLW of the month for February is going to be on March 1st.
Brought to you by our friends at Beacon, but it's going to be really interesting because it's all going to be about technology. And so Greg Bloom, who many of you probably know, he's in charge of sales at Beacon, and John Kiesel from Division 7 Roofing and Imagine Technologies are going to be talking about, and when we say technology, not just an app, not just a drone, but what's next? The 3D modeling, the virtual rooms, the some of it's going to be apps and online ordering, I'm sure, but they've got a lot of cool things. And John has done some really progressive things with his company, Imagine Technologies, that he started because he's a commercial roofing contractor, and so he started this to make his job easier. And they're using those Oculus headsets and allowing people to virtually be on their roof and see the problem. Like, hey, this is what's happening on your roof, and we'll show you and put these on. So it's going to be really, really interesting. That is March 1st, next Wednesday, in like a lion, out like a lamb, March.
Yes, Exactly. Yes. And then actually this Thursday we have our second coffee conversations of February. And I will be hosting that one, and it is a Gen Z takeover, and we have some really, really great guests. Um, all born in either 97 or 98, so all under the age of 25, with some real awesome perspectives on the industry and how you can hire the next generation into your company. So it's gonna be really awesome. That link I can put in the chat, or Alex, if you could grab that and put that in the chat to for people to register. Just go to the Coffee Conversations page on Roofer's Coffee Shop. And then lastly, and then we'll let you guys go. We have our new R Club member feature, which we have 2 new members this month. Home Shield Roofing and Exteriors, aka Christina Hill, aka Harness and Heels founder, and the MG Roofing Company. So congratulations. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if they're on here, but we'll get them next month. So all right. Well, I hope you all had a great 3-day weekend, and happy Tuesday. And it's Fat Tuesday, so happy Fat Tuesday.
Ooh, get some fast nuts.
Yeah. Thanks. See you next
Bye,
time.
everybody.